Hello, Little Owl families. This is Rebecca. I'm so happy to share one of my favorite activities with you. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a fort, and then I'll invite you to do a sing-along with me inside. All right, so we're going to get started with the materials we need for making a fort. First thing you want to make sure you have is some fabric. This could be sheets or blankets, towels, something that you can stretch out and make, like a cover. Then we want to make sure we have some chairs or furniture that's a little bit taller or about the same height as us. And so chairs work really nice if you have some chairs you sit at a table at, and you want to get about 4 if you can. 4 chairs really helps make a big shape for your fort. Once you get your chairs, you're going to want this other part. To make sure that your fabric can attach to them, get some clips or clamps, something that will help you attach the fabric to the chairs. So you might notice, like I did, that when I'm stretching fabric and maybe I think I have some heavy fabric on top for this one, that the chairs might wobble, they might wiggle, and they might accidentally fall down. This can be kind of funny, but it also can be a little bit dangerous if those chairs were to fall on somebody else. So we want to make sure we find a way to make those chairs steady. A way that I like to do that is by getting some books, maybe from your library shelf, and putting the books on the seat of the chair. It's up to you how many you use. Try a couple at a time, and if it still feels wobbly, add a couple more books. That's one of the ways you can solve that problem, to make sure that your fort is not only fun and tall, but safe. So once you get your chairs sturdy and stabilized, you're going to want to look at the shape. I was noticing this one was a little bit slouchy. The bottom was coming down, and I think for my body, it was a little too small, so I wanted to find a way to raise up the middle. You might have some sticks, or sometimes this has worked for me before, some broom handles, something that's kind of tall that you can put under the fabric. I happen to have a table with me at the library at school, and so I opened up one of the bottom legs, and when I did this, I could also divide my tent in half. So say maybe I have 2 sisters, and maybe one of us wanted privacy. I could use one half to be alone in when I read my books by myself, and if we use the other half maybe to play together, we could have some pillows in there and some stuffed animals for a tea party. And those are just some ideas for you when you're playing in your fort. So once I got the table under there, I realized that it was a kind of a nice height, but I still had some adjustments to do. I wanted to stretch the chairs out, and I wanted to stretch the fabric out one last time so that it wasn't falling off. And this I didn't need clamps for. Sometimes if you have enough clothespins to attach those, that might be nice, especially if you plan to do some playing in there and you like to touch the roof of your fort. But it turned into a nice tent shape when I put the table underneath, and again, it will kind of separate your fort in half. So you have one side over there and another side on the other end. And once you're done, you can get some books, maybe grab your journal and some stuffed animals, and have fun in your fort. Hi, Little Owl families, it's Rebecca. I wanted to share a song with you guys that the Oak Room has learned called Come Into My House. So let's get started. The first part goes, come into my house, and then you say it back to me. So I'll go, come into my house.
Come into my house.
And then the next part goes, it's the house I made, and you say that part back to me. Let's try it. Come into my house.
Come into my house.
It's the house I made.
It's the house I made.
Great. So the next part goes, the roof is part of a cardboard box. and the wall is a window shade. So let's try that together. We'll start with come into my house. Come into my house.
Come into my house.
It's the house I made.
It's the house I made.
The roof is part of a cardboard box and the wall is a window shade. You guys got it. Let's go into the next part of the chorus where we call back again. So I'm going to say, come into my house.
Come into my house.
There's room for you.
There's room for you.
I'll show you how I made this one, so you can make one too. Let's try that again together with come into my house. There's room for you. I'll show you how I made this one, so you can make one too. Ready? Come into my house.
Come into my house.
There's room for you.
There's room for you.
I'll show you how I made this one, so you can make one too. Let's try it from the beginning with the first come into my house. It's the house I made. So in the first part, I'll say come into my house and you say it back to me. Come into my house. It's the house I made. The roof is part of a cardboard box and the wall is a window shade. Come into my house. There's room for you. I'll show you how I made this one, so you can make one too. I will show you how I made this one, so you can make one too. I hope you do make one too. I can't wait to hear what kinds of things you do inside your very own fort. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.